Keep It 100 is brought to you by Slim Jim. Smack into a Slim Jim. La, 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 la. This is a quote from my haters. Yeah. You got me feeling like the greatest. Yeah. Bitch, I'm about to blow up. Hey. Welcome in to Keep It 100. I'm your host.
Bitch, I'm about to
always,
blow up.
Casey Huckle. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, I will explain to you what Keep It 100 is about. But first, for those of you who are back, have been listening to my show all along, I wanted to explain to you, after I say thank you, that I have created a new introduction here because I'm celebrating Keep It 100's release onto iTunes. Now, let me explain, for those who are new, what this show is all about. Quotes that mean a lot to me. These could be maxims, adages, idioms, truisms, pieces of advice, lyrics, verses, and the like. I created this podcast because I want to celebrate these lines for giving me more perspective on life. Maybe you're thinking, why am I calling this podcast Keep It 100? It comes down to math. For the next year, I'll drop 2 episodes per week, focusing on one quote per episode to celebrate, where I'll delve into its history, including whom it's attributed to, who popularized it if necessary, and the context surrounding the quote if it's available. And lastly, I'll explain what it means to me. You might be wondering about the math. So, 2 episodes a week for a year leaves 104 episodes. Well, just like you, I need 2 weeks of vacation. So for the next year, I'm keeping 100 for you. These lines could be from a speech, the Bible, a song, maybe even from me. So, without further ado, let's get into it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now that is, to me, the beginning of the Serenity Prayer. Some would say it completely. I have an addendum to add on to it, and it goes, God, grant me this serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, and the willingness to take action. And I got that from beloved Sierra Tucson, which I left exactly 2 weeks ago for the dire straits of Houston, Texas, as we were just getting over Hurricane or Tropical Storm Imelda. And, alright, enough about geography. Let's get into quotations. That's what we're here for. So, I came across this quote. It's, the Serenity Prayer is what it's called. Probably in my 20s. I don't remember exactly how I've heard it. Probably because I've heard it so many times. I heard it a few times every day at Sierra Tucson. And I'm here to confirm why I believe it's so true. And I'll tell you, serenity to me is peace, calmness, a peace within yourself. So it's broken down into 3 sections, 3 lines, and yes, the major reason why I'm dropping it on Keep It 100 is because of my time at Sierra Tucson. And so, yeah, the 3 lines are broken down by, here's the first one, it starts with God. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So you're accepting the things you can't control. Courage to change the things I can. So courage to man up, get up, and try to control the things you can. And most importantly, the wisdom to know the difference. Now, the 12-step program, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, did borrow it from Reinhold Niehaus, who, believe it or not, is American, even though it sounds German. No, Reinhold Niebuhr, who is an American theologian. And the difference between his part and what I've been saying is wisdom is not a definite article, meaning it just goes and wisdom to know the difference. So you look at me, the perfectionist that I am, wanted to note that difference. So I'll tell you the background and then I'll explain what it means to me. All right, so this prayer, the Serenity Prayer, was founded, obviously, like a lot of the other quotes on from my episodes. There is no exact date on when it's founded, but this one, for a change, does have specific author. Niebuhr used various versions of the prayer, widely in sermons as early as 1934. So, been around almost 100 years. And there was a man in AA which was founded by Bill Wilson, who presented it to Bill in AA, and he really loved it. So they decided to say it at the end of every meeting. And I hear about meetings all the time. That's another part of why I'm credible to deliver this quote to you. I'm in a sober living house. I hear about meetings every day. By meetings, I mean AA, NA. It's mostly AA and NA that the guys in my house go to. So I got street cred. And so it's been passed down, started out, as you could expect, by a theologian, as it's addressed to God. And I have a poster of it up in my wall at my mom's house, and I'll tell you what it means to me. I feel like the last part, the wisdom to know the difference, is the most important, because there's a such thing that my mom keeps reminding me about, and that's the illusion of control. And I think people with OCD struggle with this a lot more than those who may be more serene, more at peace, is that you try to control, block out the fear, the innate fear that we have of things, of germs, of people, of rejection, of our fathers, our cousins, our girlfriend, whoever, piano keys, which I'm looking at right now, computers, fear of power, fear of other countries, fear of the unknown, fear of death. We try to control that, and I'm thinking of fear of death in particular. Death is inevitable, so I've wasted so many hours, so many days, so many months, so many years of my life with suicidal ideation, and I want to say I can speak about it proudly, but I'm not proud of I can speak about it because I know I've experienced this, is that I have both a fear and a curiosity of death, and it's a lot stronger than I wish, but this is why the Serenity Prayer is so important to me and other people who struggle, who are in recovery, who are in treatment. And so I feel like the wisdom line is the most important, because sometimes I'm just getting worked up about, the weather, people, all those things that we're afraid of from day to day. And man, that just takes the wind out of all of our sails, man. That just bothers the shit out of us. And my biggest fear is probably social rejection. And just the other day, my friend Tin, I had a long, deep philosophical conversation with him. and he's without his license because he got a DUI a few months ago, and got his license revoked. So he's now preaching to me about. I told him I had an extrinsic goal, and that goal was to be hired by a certain date in the future. And he says you can't control that. You should refocus your goal onto something more intrinsic, more more in line with something that you can control yourself. And I said, 10. Like, all of my goals have been extrinsic. They have all been related to the satisfaction, the gratification, the pleasing, the approval, the respect from other people and not from myself. And I left that phone call, that conversation, with a little bit more wisdom, because I constantly need to be reminded that I need to accept the things I cannot change, instead of working on goals that rely on things, on people's whims, people's personal attitudes, people's ways, whatever, which if I continue to focus on, I will just be absolutely miserable. So I need to change my goals. And so far, since that conversation, and I think since going to Sierra Tucson, I've learned, although it's challenging, I get high on the challenge of trying to please others, trying to bed that hot girl, trying to make $1 million. It's just, it leaves way too much to chance. And I've decided I'd rather be happy than prove something to strangers, people who don't matter that much to me, in the grand scheme of things, right? So that is my 2 cents. Let me stress again, wisdom to know the difference. So there are times where I make mistakes on the second line. Courage to change the things I can. I often get in trouble, even though I'm reminding myself of this prayer more than the average person probably does. Sometimes I am confused about, man, should I do this or shouldn't I do that? At least if I'm aware, I can prove that I am in control of something. Boy, I really look fat. Maybe I should diet. I don't approve of diets, but see, so my subconscious is telling me, diet. I'm an American. Fuck that. No, I need to eat a little bit better. I need to be a little bit healthier. We'll just put it that way. Or I need to maybe improve my workout. So basically, attached to this Serenity Prayer, I'll leave you with this. To a certain extent, we can control ourselves, but we actually can't control ourselves, like, 100%, right? I mean, yes, basically we can control ourselves more than other people. So, I'll leave you with that our goals should be intrinsic, and that will allow us to, we can control our reactions. I'll leave you with that to things, and from there, that once we're, shit happens. Once we're given that shit, what do we do with it, right? Make lemonade out of lemons. So that's the idea. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, and the willingness to take action. That last line I got from Sierra Tucson. So hope you learned a little bit from this episode. I'll catch you guys in a few days. Peace. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me get some pimping in it. This is Casey Huckle. I appreciate you finishing my episode of Keep It 100. I only ask that, as a valuable listener of mine, wherever you may be, you rate and review my podcast, Keep It 100, on iTunes and or Apple Podcasts. And if you do that, I may show up on the new and noteworthy section